All right, so my name is Tim Borich. I'm Associate Dean in the College of Design for Extension and Outreach, and then I'm also the Program Director for Extension Community Economic Development, which is one of the program areas that we find here at Iowa State University in Extension. Probably the program area you know least about, would be my guess, and Joanne would probably share that with the Center for Industrial Research and Service. Let me kind of give you a little bit of history. 101, the Extension. First, Extension landscape architect, I think, was hired about 1915. Back in those days, sociologists were going out teaching dance in communities. And that was a means at that point of attempt, that's going to sound kind of relevant today, of helping different ethnic groups get along better. If you remember, that was during World War I, and German churches were being burnt to the ground in Iowa. Places like Denison, near riots in places like Schleswig. So the sociologists are actually going out and teaching dance in churches. If they figure if I can get two ethnic groups dancing together, they better cooperate. I think probably our ethnic lineage of those Iowans probably, I think it worked. So the history, urban planning, you think, geez, extension urban plan, that was started in the late 1930s with a woman by the name of Margarita Tarr. Yeah, it was a woman, which is really kind of cool because that's a pretty male-dominated field. And so the history, local government programming, we work a lot with the League of Municipalities and the Iowa State Association of Counties. Bishwa Das over here is our new hire in that area, in the planning department as an extension faculty member working with local government. That goes back to the 1960s. And so I guess it's new to you and it's new to a lot of people, but it's been around for almost 100 years as part of our system. And the reason I bring that up is if you're from other states, this is not a tradition often in other states. You won't find that lineage going back nearly 10 decades of programming with communities. And communities is the operative word. That is our unit that we work with. That is a unit of analysis. That's what we try to look at impacts at the community level. It's hard. It's not easy work. It's hard to measure, but that's what we do. And so when we look to work with communities, who are we working with? Often it's with chambers of commerce or economic development organization, community leaders, local bankers are often engaged with what we do. City councils, mayors, managers, boards of supervisors, county administrators. Those are typically some of the major groups we work with in a community, often in tandem. So we're not just working with the chamber, but we'll work on a broader project engaging a number of organizations in the community. And that's something that, in terms of our programming, we have kind of gotten more into and less away from an economics professor coming out and giving a 1-hour talk and keeping the engine running and then leaving town. You know, give the bad news and we're out of here.
Or the good news.
Or some guys, good news. We're really, in our program, have tried to engage in broader programming across disciplines that and field specialists, 1-year, 2-year, 3-year type program relationships with given communities. Now, who's involved? We're a little different. Everyone else here, even though I'm in the College of Design, has pretty much sort of a vertical linkage to a college. I'm a little this way, spread out. We have sociologists, economists. We have extension people in INTRANS, which is basically Transportation Civil Engineering Center. We have then landscape architects. Architects, that's a relatively new one, but it's kind of fun. She's doing really good work, Nadia Anderson. I mentioned planning, community regional planning or urban planning. We have faculty in that. So you get the idea, we can really bring a breadth of different types of disciplines in an interdisciplinary effort to community, and we're probably about it in the state of Iowa can really do that kind of work with a community. So it's fun work. It doesn't happen. There's 954 towns. We don't have enough staff to cover that. So we tend to pick and choose a little bit, especially in our longer-term relational work that we do with communities. How do I know what we're doing and how do I follow it up? Well, I cheated. Instead of a hand, we have a handout in our program, but there's a pen. And on the pen, you're going to see a website. And this is what we do often when we go into a community. That little website is Program Builder. And what we try to do is all the different professors, the different faculty, we have 12 field specialists around the state. Some of those folks work in such areas as housing, planning I mentioned. We have a specialist working in sustainable community development as his primary focus. How do I get track of all this? It sounds kind of random and episodic and all over the place. Yeah, it is kind of. But a way to do that is to go to Program Builder. And what you'll see, instead of us, which is a kind of a different tack, talking about who does what, Program Builder focuses on what we do. So if as an example, you have a community that's going through some economic strife and you want some economic analysis, can we do that? Well, you hop on Program Builder, you can search it, there's an economic development section, and it'll tell you what we can do and who does it, who the contacts are. This gets about 3,000-4,000 hits a month. So if you want an input-output analysis or an economic-based study, you want a community survey in your community, it lists the component parts of what we do, who's responsible for it, if there's a cost, roughly what the cost will be, and who to contact. And because, like I say, we're a bit spread out this way, we found that was really one of the better ways to get a handle, if you will, on what we do and who's doing what. So keep the pen, and the next time you're thinking about this or somebody comes into the office or you see an issue arise in the communities you're working with, don't just write about it. Get out the pen and get on that website, and there's contact points where you can help follow up with, okay? So I guess that's about it. We again, are a little bit different in the context of our programming, how we're structured, and how we approach communities. Certainly anyone in this room, anyone of the people that you network with can contact us, and often do. I'm going up to anybody here from Allen McKee County? So tomorrow night, I'll be at the request of some of the community leaders in Waukon going up to Waukon. Okay? And that, you know how that contact was made was we had a program on the ISU website. It talked about it on the front page of the Iowa State University website, and that's how that happened. So the flow of the information, how we get contact varies a lot, and certainly everybody in this room is welcome to access our programming, and don't lose the pen. Okay. All right.
Okay. I'm Joanne Miller, the Administrative Director for CIRRUS. I think Don mentioned to you earlier that Ron Cox was going to give a presentation. Well, he is the director of CIRRUS, but he was called away due to a family emergency, and he sends his regrets for not being able to join you today. I'm going to do a who, what, when, where, and a success story, and then a quiz about what we chatted about. So if you pay attention, Kayla may give you a little award if you get the quiz questions right, okay? So
do you have the answers or you can't say?
this panel is excluded.
Oh.
Okay, now that we've got that squared away.
Goodness.
So who? CIRRUS, C-I-R-A-S. It's the Center for Industrial Research and Service. Obviously, we're a program unit of extension and outreach. And as Tim had mentioned, for some of you who may come from a different state, we are an anomaly as a unit within extension and outreach. I went to the NELD programming, and in our North Central region, CIRRUS was the only unit like us within extension. We're also embedded in the College of Engineering. My boss is the Associate Dean for Extension in the College of Engineering as well, so he has a dual role as the Director of CIRRUS and as the Associate Dean in the College of Engineering. So what does CIRRUS do? We help companies grow and prosper. That's our mission. We do that through applied research, education, and training. We work with a lot of different industries. Many people think that Cirrus only works with manufacturers, but that's not true. We work with manufacturers, we work with government entities, we work with the IT industry, the construction industry, utilities, wholesale, retail, service industry. So we work with a lot of different companies, not just manufacturers. What does Cirrus do? Our whole goal is to help companies grow and prosper. And we are an integrator of solutions for companies. We know that we can't provide everything that a company needs in order to be able to obtain long-term stability and growth. So we have to do it with a lot of partnerships. We have many partners within Iowa State and with external to Iowa State. Within Iowa State, we partner, of course, with all of these units around the table. We partner with environmental health and safety. I see Angela Shaw over there. We partner with Angela. We have probably 15 formal partnerships within Cirrus and 10 informal partnerships. And those are also outside of the university as well. One of the entities we partner outside of the university is the Iowa Farm Bureau Federation. So we know we can't do it alone. We've got to have a lot of different entities that help us get companies to prosper and grow. Our expertise areas on your, I think you guys all have this in your handout. So Cirrus has a lot of expertise areas within our own staff, from engineering to bio-based products to government contracting, lean, culture, just a variety of things. And all of them are listed on your handout in here, as well as they're included in the program catalog, the majority of those services that we provide. So now Tim talked about his unit. Was your unit really established in 1915?
First extension landscape architect.
Okay, that's fine, because we were established as a center, a Board of Regents center in 1963. So that means we have
You're young.
almost 50 years of experience working with communities and industry. But it also means we're going to celebrate our 50th anniversary next year. So what's the appropriate gift for a 50th anniversary?
Gold, isn't it?
Gold. So start working. We'll be expecting all of those gifts come starting in January. Send them on throughout the whole part of the year. That would be nice. You guys, we're expecting from the program units as well. So where does Cirrus operate? Like the rest of the unit extensions, we are a statewide organization. We have 5 account managers who are our sales force, and they each have a territory throughout the state of Iowa. They visit with companies, go into the companies, help them assess their needs, determine what they need in order to obtain long-term stability and growth. Our staff are officed all around the state of Iowa. Of course, there are people on campus, but we have staff. I'm geographically dysfunctional, so I'm not going to get these in any order at all across the state. But we have staff in Denison, Fort Dodge, Sioux City, Council Bluffs, Elkader, Marion, Ankeny, Pella, Denison, DeWitt, Boone, Bettendorf, Grundy Center. So you can see we're spread all across the state, which helps us be able to bring our services to everybody within the state of Iowa. So why do we do what we do? We do this because we believe in Iowa. Our vision for Iowa is healthy communities, but we recognize that you really can't have a healthy community unless you have business prosperity. We help companies grow and prosper. In the last year, in fiscal year 12, you'll see that on the back of your handout as well. The impact that companies reported last year due to assistance from Cirrus and partners was $414 million. And we're really proud of that, but it's not just Cirrus. It's Cirrus and all of our partners. We have to develop those relationships in order to be able to have the appropriate resources that can help companies grow and prosper. So now I'd like to tell you a little bit about a success story. We worked with Superflow Technologies Group in Des Moines. Cirrus government contracting specialists helped them get a contract with the federal government. They manufacture transmission dynamometers. I like to say that word, dynamometers. For any of you guys, you probably know what it means better than I do, but it measures the effectiveness of vehicle transmissions. So you can realize that that's probably an important tool for the military. When they started manufacturing these for that contract, the bearings were failing at an unacceptable rate. They knew that they had to get that figured out or they were going to lose the contract. So Cirrus is an integrator of solutions. We find the resources that are needed to help the company. we got together with a team of ISU College of Engineering experts. They figured out why the bearings were failing, and they also figured out a solution to that failure rate. That enabled the company to meet the demands of this military contract. With just that one project, that retained $2.5 million sales for that company. And that's the type of projects we hope to do with multiple companies throughout the state of Iowa. Okay, now it's time for the quiz. I hope you all listened well. These are, it's true, false. Kayla is out there somewhere. She has the awards. Did she leave?
No, Don's going
Please
for
took the
it. Don's
awards.
got it.
Don's got them. Okay, I was gonna say that we would have to just stop.
She took the gold. She took the gold and ran.
Okay, now Kayla and Don are back. Okay, true, false, and just shout out your question, your response to these. First question: Cirrus works only with manufacturers.
False.
Kayla, throw some candy around. Don, give some candy out. You're right. We do not just work with manufacturers. We work with utilities, IT, construction, service
like they're in the
industry,
homecoming
wholesale, and retail. Now we have 5 questions, guys, so be cautious with your candy. Okay, true, false. Cirrus works in all areas of the state. True. All right, you guys are good. You've been listening.
Whoa. Don's going for
Don's
bowling.
getting, little rambunctious. That's the right word. Okay. Listen up. Third question. Cirrus helps companies grow and prosper. Yeah. All right. More candy. More candy. Okay. Fourth question. True, false. Cirrus does not like partnerships. All right. You guys are really good. Fifth question. Last year, Cirrus and partner impact was just under $1 million. True or false? False. Okay, this final one's the bonus question. It's an open book quiz. There's a handout in your notebooks. Bonus.
Hint.
What was the last year's impact of Cirrus and partners? All right, you guys are good. Thank you very much.
Good job, Joanne. The microphone.
Oh, you want the microphone? I
Oh,
kind of
no,
like it.
I'll stand it. I'm Nancy Franz. I'm the Associate Dean for Extension and Outreach in the College of Human Sciences and also the Director of the Families Unit for Extension and Outreach. I want to say hello to the people in the back of the room since when I sit down you will not see me. See, that's correct, right? I can't see you, so I'm assuming you can't see me. I wanted to share a few things with you quickly because many of you are familiar with what we do. First of all, how many of you have families formally in your job description? Okay. How many of you are part of families? We've got a lot of bastard children in the room. That confirms it. Now, what theory was that we were testing? No. I'd like to suggest that the work that the Families Unit does is something that's of interest to all of us, whether it's in our professional life or in our personal life. And I want to share with you just a couple of really exciting things that I've discovered since I've been here a little over 2 years. The first is we have at Iowa State University the first home economics program in higher education in the nation. It was started by the president's wife, the first president's wife on campus, and she called it domestic economy. Now, it sounds like something our federal government should get, don't you think? A little domestic economy. And she felt that young women, just as much as young men, needed an opportunity to leave the farm and come to campus and learn about what life was like and to create a more economic way of living. And so she started what is now the College of Human Science, and we have 5 different departments or schools in our college that we draw our research-based information from and our faculty and staff work with. So we happen to have Human Development and Family Studies. Do we have any Human Development and Family Studies graduates in the room? Great, good job. We've got kinesiology. Any kinesiology folks in the room? It's a great word for hangman. Yeah, keep that in mind. Or Scrabble. Boy, if you ever get that in Scrabble, it's 200 points. It's more than 7 letters, so it's pretty hard to do. Awesome, which is our apparel events management and hospitality management. Do we have any grads from there? Yes, wonderful. Also, food science and human nutrition. Anybody from there? Great, all right, yay. And finally, the School of Education, that's my school, that's where I'm located. So those are the various groups that we're pulling our research base from most of the time. But what you will see as the face of the families unit are the staff. There are about 40 people in the counties who have families somehow in their job description or in their passionate interest, who we work with directly, and many others, a couple hundred others, who ask us to come in and lend a hand in other ways. We have about 35 regional specialists across the state, and we've got several in the room. Raise your hands, families regional specialists. Yay! Have lunch with them, they're wonderful people. We also have about 25 campus staff and faculty, and a couple of them, I saw them skip out. Do we have any left? Yeah, some of them have come this morning as mentors. They had to attend to other things like teaching classes. And then we also have about 40 additional people on grants and contracts who are working in a variety of very specific projects. So we have about 100 people through the state and about 40 people through counties who are working on family programs. That makes it one of the largest in the nation, which also makes it one of the most impactful. So let me tell you just quickly about who we're working with. About 50% of our time goes to low resource audiences. And that's very different than most families, organizations that you will see. We're spending quite a bit of time with folks who don't have a lot of money, folks who don't have a lot of support in their lives. 50% of our state time is going towards that, because that is a gap in the services available in education for those families. The other half of our time we're spending on train the trainer programs and particular grants and contracts that have come our direction. Because we have found that, of course, that's the best way to get impact, is to work with people who are interested in working with others. We call it the multiplier effect. And then we find that particular grants and contracts are a niche for us because we, again, have very highly trained professionals at the county level and the state level and the regional level who can help carry out things that other agencies can't do on their own, and so we help them do that for state and federal contracts. And then finally, I just wanted to share a quick success story with you. When you get a chance, you can take a look at the Families Logic Model that's in your packet. It's guaranteed to help you fall asleep if you're not into logic models. If you like logic models, it'll get you so excited you can't help yourself but to join us very soon. Basically, it's our strategic plan for our programming. We work in 5 areas. We work in nutrition and health, which here we call nutrition and health. We work in resource management, which actually is called family finance at this point to match our current contemporary trends and naming. We work in strengthening families. You will hear this called the Family Life Work Group or area. We work with the aging population. Iowa is anywhere listed as number 1, 2, or 3 as the most aging population, depending on what statistics you use in the nation. We're calling that midlife and beyond, the whole picture. People don't like to be called aging. So it's a good thing to say you're in midlife and beyond. We even tried numbers like 45 and older, and people are like, that's not aging. I'm 42, I'm 47. It got people upset. So it's midlife and beyond. And then we're doing work in what here is called human health and the natural environment. And our work there is called the Family Environment Connection. And Christy, who's here in the front row, is deeply involved with that. So if you'd like to learn more about that, she can share that with you today. So those are our areas. One quick success story for you is called the VITA program. It's the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. And is anybody from a county that's working with that program? Are you familiar with that? It's a wonderful program. Thank you so much for helping us with that. It's a combination of our regional specialists working with county offices to train volunteers to provide income tax assistance. And it's, again, low resource folks who wouldn't have the money to hire somebody to do their taxes. These volunteers do it for them for free. Last year, we were able to return over $1 million to people in earned income tax credit through that program that they would not have received otherwise. And we hope in turn that they've returned that money to their communities through their spending locally. So that's a success story for you. We hope that you will join us in all of the work that we do. If you can't, just choose your favorite passions. And finally, I'm also looking for somebody who's a county-based educator who would like to serve on the Families Advisory Committee. If you're interested, see me during lunch. Thanks.
Good morning. I'm Chuck Morris, and privileged to be the Director for 4-H Youth Development. How many of you in the room have some kind of a 4-H connection? You're a 4-H'er, a volunteer, a parent? Please raise your hands. Wonderful preaching to the saved. I like that. One of the things, I guess, if you would, please take out this little brochure. You know, and take a look at it, because it probably won't be the only time that you do, unless you're part of the 4-H team. You'll notice, first of all, that it's colorful. that it's intriguing, it's inviting. Notice that it talks about your adventure starts here. And then as you dig into it, you will also see some words that talk about imagine, possibilities, fun and friends, voice and choice. We like fours, fun and friends, voice and choice, in the 4-H program. This really is, we're all about helping young people discover interests in their life and help them to become successful adults. That's really what this is all about. Our audience is K-12. We are, in some ways, one of the cradles of civilization in 4-H nationally. When I retire, I think that I will try to rewrite history, and 4-H will take it away from Ohio in 1901 in Page County is where things kind of began. At least that's what they claimed that night when I went for dinner with those people. The thing is, when I say fun and friends, we're an optional kind of a thing, aren't we? And so we want to entice people, yourselves as adults and young parents, if you will, as well as volunteers, to have some fun with adults. Friends. Young people love to be with their friends. We like to be with our friends. That's kind of an ageless kind of a thing, isn't it? So we want to do things that involve lots of groups of people, and you have your friends with you in that learning process. Voice and choice, very important. We're about positive youth development. A wonderful research base and that's housed in our Human Science College, but it's really about helping young people discover what they might be interested in. They don't necessarily know, and that's why in some ways our 39 different fact sheets that you'll find out on our website drive us all nuts, but it does provide an opportunity for kids to explore things that they perhaps wouldn't have had done before. Because really what we're about is providing young people with new experiences, and that's what that happens. Now the choice part is really important too. Many youth programs are quite prescriptive, aren't they? You do this, then you do this, then you do this. We don't have that. It drives our volunteers crazy. But what it does do is provide young people with the power of making decisions and experience with that. They get to experience leadership opportunities when they don't even know that they're a part of a leadership opportunity, or helping others and citizenship skills. And so we try to sneak in the back door and provide that foundation for young people, again, to be successful adults. I hope this isn't new to you. I know it's kind of teeny, so I don't want you to read it and there'll be no quiz, but I hope that each of you find these kinds of posters posted in your county extension office. And this really summarizes what we mean by positive youth development. It's a process by which we want young people and adults to go through to learn these skills. Our mission is to empower youth to reach their full potential, working and learning in partnership with caring adults. I think that would follow with what I've just said. And what are we trying to do? Our outcomes are productive citizens, outstanding communicators, effective leaders, and successful learners. Skills that they need to learn now and practice and can help them not only in their elementary and high school career, middle school and high school careers, but also as adults, as you well know. Our research base is that of the Circle of Courage, belonging, mastery, independence, and generosity. You may be familiar with that with your studies. And of course, we're trying to work on several things that are essential elements, that we call them, that are skills that we need as adults to work with young people and that our volunteers need as well. Obviously, a caring adult seems pretty obvious, but it isn't to everybody, so we need to work on that. We obviously want young people to have a safe environment in which they learn. We want our settings to be inclusive and with opportunities for mastery, for service, self-determination, planning for the future, and engaged learning. So it's really a hands-on experience, is it not? And we want young people to do that. Another strength of our program is that we practice experiential learning. Another research-based methodology that Dewey started us down, that you do something, you reflect upon it, and then you try to use that knowledge and decide, what are we going to do next time? So those of you who've had the privilege of creating an exhibit and going to the county fair and having a visit with a judge, I hope that's, as you reflect back, exactly what happened. And we have lots of other things like that as well. Now, the experience that you may have had in 4-H, certainly what I had in the 60s and early 70s, is not like it is today. 4-H is on the move. It's unchanging. We have to continue to reinvent ourselves each of the times, as do my colleagues, because the world keeps changing, does it not? So we have, as a part of our portfolio, and you can say that, oh, as I look back on that last page, it says dream big, or no, choose a club and get involved. Folks, that's only but one way you can be a part of 4-H. Our program portfolio, and we're even working to expand that under the guise of K-12 outreach that I'll talk about in just a moment. But we do have Clover Kids in terms of K-3, and our club program starts at 4th through 12th grade. We also have independent members. You can have join 4-H by yourself with a caring adult, of course, to help have a positive experience. We do after-school programmings. We do in-school programmings. We do special interest groups. If we do camps, both day and long terms. We also partner with other organizations and deliver 4-H through their particular setting and their programming. We are all about and all over partnerships as well, especially in terms of our volunteers, and work very closely. So we could not do this without partnerships. One unique thing as you're hearing all this is that we have a program to deliver called 4-H, and we also have our regional and urban specialists are what we call in campus experts in positive youth development. So we have that kind of consultation that we can provide, that specialty, and consulting with community agencies and making communities better places to live for young people. Now, some other things that are happening on the horizon that you'll hear lots more about as we continue to strive and as you read messages from Cathan and others. We're all over STEM. Now, folks, we've always been all over STEM. We're science, technology, engineering, and math. If you think about the beginning of the last century, where we were about helping young people learn about growing corn, it was really the science of hybrids, was it not? And we used that to teach adults, and you can see, and there's some wonderful stories about that. Or you might have been about preservation of foods, food safety, and all those kinds of things, or the diet of families, etc. There's a science to everything. And we're really getting into more heavily into science through First Lego League, through robotics, through all kinds of opportunities. Wade is one of our experts in terms of that particular field of study. Please talk to him. We're trying and doing all new kinds of things. Now, let me also talk about this thing we call a club, because I like to use a term called club-like. We know that a club is a group of kids with 2 or 3 or more caring adults learning the kinds of things that they want to make their voice and choice about it, and having positive learning experiences. One of the challenges that we face are the trappings that all of us place on those clubs. Think that, if we were to start this whole thing over again, clubs, groups would be very important. Maybe we ought to lose that term club. Clubs are very important, but everything doesn't have to look alike, I guess is what I want to say. And I think that's one of our important messages we need to carry back. I'm not saying that the county fair isn't important. I'm not saying that those beef projects aren't critical. But I'm saying in order to broaden and involve more young people into our program, we need to think broader. K-12 outreach. We are looking at all kinds of new partnerships here on campus within all the colleges to, again, tap into that research-based knowledge, which is our expertise, and what our challenge is for delivering that to the young people of Iowa, to provide even more experiences. I want you to think in terms of a scope and sequence, that we might do some things just for education that would be short-term, but our ultimate goal is to get young people into long-term experiences so we can reach those powerful, powerful outcomes. Let me stop there. Sorry, I didn't have a very good conclusion to my presentation.
You just run out of breath.
Oh, yeah, well, and the clock says so too. So.
All right, well, fair enough. Well, welcome everyone. My name is John Lawrence. I'm the Associate Dean and Director of Ag and Natural Resources Extension. I want to thank you all for coming today, and I want to thank my colleagues for leaving me little time and little left that hasn't already been talked about. So we'll try to make this quick. Ag and Natural Resources programming in College of Agriculture and Life Sciences is a big part of what we do within Extension. We've got approximately 42 or 43 field specialists across the state, as well as about 60 plus faculty on campus that have a formal extension appointment. We also have other faculty beyond that that have a teaching research appointment but still are great at outreach and very visible in what we do. One of the first things that I would encourage people to do is get acquainted with these folks. If you're a county paid staff, an office professional, get to know the specialists that you work with. Get to know them on a first name basis. because they're really our first line out there of answering questions, doing educational programming, being a resource, someone to direct those folks to. I've challenged my staff to get to know you. Who are the office professionals in those counties? We need to have those relationships. I think the panel that was up here earlier talking about how they've been successful within Extension talked about it being a people organization, and it still is today. Yes, we can have the calendar, and we can have Facebook, and we can have Twitter, but it's all people, and so we need to get acquainted with those. You can see from the handout the type of things that Ag and Natural Resources work in. It's across food and the environment. Is one of the signature issues, and everything from commercial agriculture and the combines and seed technology to local foods. In fact, today there's a local foods conference starting. They're on a tour visiting sites. They'll be on campus tomorrow. We cover that whole breadth of things. We do that by our program teams that are listed in the lower left-hand side. That's how we're organized around the plans of work. We cut across those. Obviously, our crops folks work with farm management and engineers, obviously involved in soil and water issues. Our livestock teams work with our economists. And so we're a fairly integrated and cross-disciplinary program as well. We use a lot of local partners. That's a reoccurring theme. If you've learned nothing today, you need to learn to say the word partner. But it also means we have to learn to act as partners with each other, internally to the system, but also externally with those, whether they be a statewide partner like an agency or a large company, or locally with a Main Street business, of how we partner effectively in a two-way relationship, because that's very important in our delivery of our programs as well. Ways to stay connected with A&R. We have the A&R at noon, which is a once-a-month webinar that we have a different topic each time. Sometimes it's about reporting, sometimes it's about the Master Gardener program. It's a whole variety of things. We've also have the A&R newsletter that I put out once a month. The first paragraph or two is usually some musing of the director talking about construction or students on campus or kind of what's going on campus. But we also try to bring you up to speed on kind of what's going on within the program. If there's staff changes, that's where they'll be posted. If there's upcoming A&R at noon, that's where it'll be posted. If there's needs for information to help supply CAFAN or legislators or others, that's where that will be listed as well. So I encourage you to watch for that newsletter as it comes in. With a show of hands here, how many of you are county paid staff? Okay, and how many of you are employed by a program or campus? Kind of by subtraction, that gets most of it. So I'm speaking to kind of two different audiences here. So with the county paid staff, I think a couple of our programs where you will be hands-on, and we depend very heavily upon you, is our pesticide safety education program, or the pesticide applicator training, whichever you call it. We have a contract with the state of Iowa to provide that type of training to our farmers and commercial companies that do pesticide application. Some of that is done through educational meetings, but some of it is they will come to your door and watch a DVD, and you need to sign off and fill out the appropriate forms that in fact they've completed that. So we depend very heavily on you for that. The other is the manure applicator certification program. Same type of thing. We'll have educational programs, but they also can come at kind of when they need to and watch the DVD, and you sign off certified. Sometimes they will come directly from hauling the manure into your office, and I apologize for that up front. But we have great people leading those programs here on campus. Christine Schaefer and Kathy Wilson and that team on the pesticide safety training. If you have questions, they're a great resource, very responsive. Angie Rekents on the manure application certification. So I encourage you to work with them if you have questions. I also want to thank those of you who hosted our recent drought webinars. We've had 3 of them, one on kind of horticulture, one crop and livestock, and one more recently on grain quality. We likely will have some more of those as this drought continues to evolve. I said back in early July, or maybe it's even June, that this drought was going to be like watching a train wreck in slow motion. We kind of know what the result's going to be, but we've just got to watch it kind of day by day evolve. Harvest is going on now. Once we see what the yields actually are, see what the crop insurance checks turn out to be, I think next we'll be talking about financial situations, financial stress, emotional stress, and then start looking ahead to 2013. And so we will try to stay engaged in that. We'll stay engaged throughout our winter meeting series. But again, we need you as our eyes and ears on the ground. What are you hearing? What are the problems? What do we need to be doing? And please relay that to your specialist or to me as well. So just finally, to wrap things up here, and this is kind of one of the other hats that all of us wear, is the program catalog was recently released. Just with a quick show of hands again, how many of you have been on that site and kind of perused through the catalog? Okay, getting to be a few of you there. I know several of you have regional program planning sessions coming up where I think that will be a useful tool. It's meant to be a communication tool between county paid staff, county councils, and our specialists to talk about program planning, not just the scheduling for this winter of when can I have this meeting or that meeting, but really planning ahead as you think about county budgets for what are our needs, is there something in that catalog that addresses those needs, and then what type of resources might that county want to invest in that. I think it's also a case of if you're not finding programming that meets your needs, that's a communication that needs to occur as well. And we need to hear back from you on that. So with that, I think I'll wrap things up. Dawn, I'll turn it back over to you.
Are you kidding? We want to go to lunch. Yeah.
I've been around a while, but I still have questions. My question is for you, John. I am on the listserv for the Leopold Center, and I'm also kind of been watching the Iowa Learning Farms and the kinds of things that have been happening across the state that way. Tell me how that's related to your program area.
Okay, the question was that she's aware and on the listserv for the Leopold Center for Sustainable Agriculture, and then the Iowa Learning Farms project that is having events around the state. And how does that relate to Ag and Natural Resources Extension? The Leopold Center is at Iowa State University is its own program. It partners very, very closely with A&R. And so oftentimes the applied research that is done at the Leopold Center is done by faculty and staff involved with extension. Sometimes it's straight research, but oftentimes it'll be extension people. And so we, in some ways, are the discovery and delivery mechanism for the Leopold Center. So that would be one way in which we partner with them. The Iowa Learning Farms is a partnership of Iowa State University, Iowa Department of Ag and Land Stewardship, Iowa Department of Natural Resources, more recently I think NRCS, Natural Resource Conservation Service, which is of USDA. Leopold Center has recently partnered with that. So here is how much time before lunch? Here's a unique partnership because one of the partnership criteria was nobody gets to claim it as their own. It belongs to all of us. And so if you see the conservation station, which has the rainfall simulator and an educational module, oftentimes targeted at youth, you won't see Iowa State's name on it. And yet the staff that operate it and run it and so on are Iowa State staff. They work, they're soft money funded, they work for faculty within our college that have extension appointments that carry out this work in water quality and natural resource conservation. And they're a big part of our response to water quality through A&R is through that learning farms. Our staff partner with them because, again, they're out doing these things, but they still need the technical expertise, and whether that's on tillage methods, water quality monitoring, understanding soil structure, and then that's where they'll turn to our field specialist or campus-based specialist to bring the technical expertise to the table. So, hope that helps.
Other questions? One over here.
I'm part of the Northeast Iowa Ag Team, and I was just wondering, is there ever a plan to have a statewide Ag Team meeting?
Okay, the question or comment was that she was a member of the Northeast Iowa Ag Team, and was there ever a plan to get all the Ag Teams have a statewide Ag Team meeting? I really appreciate all these softballs because it's stuff I didn't think to include in my brief comments. We have tried to reintroduce the area ag teams as a way to build some camaraderie between our field staff and certainly with our county staff that have interest in agriculture and are serving in that program. Those have been around for a long time in various degrees of success. We're trying to get those re-energized. We have from where we are now is currently a couple of times a year we try to meet with the leaders of that to share ideas, kind of best practices. These teams are not mandates that thou shall and you've got reporting requirements and top-down type thing. These are opportunities for folks in a region to work together. Some of them have taken the approach of targeting one or two program areas. Northeast, for example, is looking at local foods and beginning farmers. Other parts of the state, it's more of just an opportunity of what all is going on, but perhaps doing some training. The Southeast Iowa team, for example, brought in office professionals and other new staff to talk about how do you process a insect sample that somebody brings in? How do you get that sent in? Somebody wants to talk about a soil sample, have it done. How do you do that? Where do I find this information? So did some training locally, for example. So they're a tool to enhance communication locally. Will we bring them all together? We have our in-service training in the spring, or professional development in the spring that is open to all people working within an A&R. And so that would be a case where it's not necessarily the teams coming together as much as it is an all staff, including county paid people that have an interest in agriculture and their counties are willing to support them to come in for the training.
One more question.
I really appreciate all of the content knowledge that each of you have in your program areas. It's very refreshing, but I more appreciate all the discussion I hear about partnerships and working with other organizations and stuff. I think we all face the challenge, though. How do we, in our offices and districts, whatever, get others to see how we can work together across those program lines? And I know that's a very rhetorical question, but if you could just come, each of you with one idea that you might have for us to help our staffs understand the importance of that cross-learning.
I'm going to tell you, it's all about the logic model. If you can sit down and have a conversation with the people who have a common interest and keep focused on that interest and do something like a logic model process where you actually map out where are we going and how are we going to get there, the silos and the divisions tend to fall away if you stay focused on common interest, or you discover that you're too unalike and you've got to split and do your own thing. So I think if you start out with a process around that common ground and common interest, that's the good place to start rather than, well, we've got a grant and we wrote you into it. By the way, come to our meeting, which happens way too frequently. Or we've got a problem to solve. We're going to go to Extension. We expect Extension to provide all the staff and all of this and all of that. I think you really have to start around the where we're trying to go together.
We have, in partnership with Minnesota, a partnership training set of modules. So talk to your regional or urban 4-H specialists about that content, because they've had that opportunity to take that course. I think it also may start with some trust and some relationships. Very critical in order to see where you stand and to build on the content and where you're going to go, as Nancy suggested. But I think in all partnerships, we have to start with building relationships with each other first to see if we trust each other and want to move forward too.
One of the things we do first is look at the mission of the organization and see if it's aligned with the mission of Cirrus. And then we try to go, okay, before we look at what can that entity do for us, what can we bring to the table to that entity? So we're seeing what can have an advantage for them to work with us first. And I think Angela, maybe we did that. We worked directly with Angela to try and come up with what would work for Angela in her career path that could also then help with the food processors of Iowa in the mission of Cirrus.
I guess the example I would give, we have a specialist that works with Latino communities and business development, and we're hiring a second one. A lot of the work that person does is done with the families unit. If you look at what's happening on Main Street, you see the Marshalltown, Columbus Junction, etc., Perry. You'll see these Latino businesses opening up on Main Street because they've been there now for a generation. What we find is, of course, that their abilities in terms of business management are somewhat limited, and that often where the personal finances end, the business finances begin, very blurry. And so working together with families, we not only do business development training and business management training, but also financial literacy is combined with that. So so it's families and communities unit working together with that particular subgroup. My point being in all that, and I guess I'll throw this kind of back on you a bit, especially those at the county level in the field, it's the opportunity. It's to take a look at the issue or the opportunity or the problem, and I think your capacity to deal with the networks and the people to go beyond our little, I won't say silos, but our compartments, the way we look at things. It's in some ways for those that have ingenuity and have the social network to start pulling these together, these what look like originally disparate pieces, families, communities, personal finance, business finance. It's really up to your own ingenuity and innovation, and that's always, I think, the challenge and extension of being the exceptional. I know it's an often used word, exceptional extension professional. Oops.
I want to do a quick check. Were you talking mainly internally or external
I was
partners?
thinking more internal, but that's
Yeah. And I think you raise a good point. We all are, as we specialize, we tend to get narrower and narrower and narrower. And by definition, we put the word specialist behind somebody's name, and it gives them a license, and we expect them to be experts, as knowledgeable as can be, and yet we're all on the same team. And at the end of the day, we all share common goals about our own communities and growth and prosperity of the people. And the tagline, healthy people, healthy economies, healthy environments. The same thing on any team, we're not all alike. You know, we're not all quarterbacks, we're not all linemen. We play different roles at different times. I do think that, as Nancy talked about and Tim, it's about defining what the question is. One of the things that you're going to see and hear a lot about in the coming weeks, months, and years is around these 4 signature issues now about food and the environment, economic development, health and well-being, K-12 youth outreach. And there is an expectation that all of the programs work in all of the areas. You notice there's 4 and yet there's 5 up here. That doesn't mean we're going to kick somebody off the island. It means that what is it in A&R that we're doing in economic development? Well, in a state like Iowa with $30 billion in ag sales, if we aren't doing something in economic development, they ought to kick us off the island. So how do we define that, and how do we make it happen, rather than just simply kind of going, answering questions when they come in our typical educational program. What is it about economic development we're doing? And so I think it's really about defining that question, and then what's the right team of people to get involved in that. It doesn't have to be everybody every time, but where does that expertise come in? Where does it make sense for folks to partner internally to get that job done?